Welcome back to the deep dive. You recently shared the April edition of your future newsletter from the Career Experts Group with us, and we've really been digging into it.
Yeah, it's a good one. And the Career Experts Group, I mean, as the newsletter mentions, they're this collaboration of, master career pros and personal branding strategists.
Right. Their whole mission seems to be guiding people, supporting individuals, really at all stages of their careers.
Exactly. And you can see that commitment not just in the newsletter, but their website too, www.careerexpertsgroup.com. It's packed with resources, guides, videos.
Yeah, I saw that. They even do outplacement services for companies, which tells you they really understand the whole picture from both sides.
Definitely. So for this deep dive, our plan is pretty simple. Let's unpack this April newsletter. The title is The Prosperity Blueprint, Balancing Financial Wisdom and Mindful Choices.
Okay.
And we want to pull out the most valuable nuggets for you, the listener, to help navigate your career, your finances, just make things work better.
Sounds great. It looks like they cover a lot. Career gaps, upskilling, even things like money mindset and confidence. Where should we start?
Well, let's tackle that first big topic. Finding value when things are unexpected, like navigating a career gap by upskilling.
Okay, career gaps. A lot of people face those, right? And there can be a negative perception, unfortunately.
Yeah, the newsletter acknowledges that. There's research showing it can mean fewer callbacks, maybe even impact compensation. It's a real worry for people.
But they offer a different perspective, don't they? I saw that story about the HR person.
Oh, yeah, the one with 30 years in HR who took 5 years off for caregiving.
That's the one. And successfully got back in through strategic upskilling and volunteering.
Yeah.
It really shows a gap isn't necessarily, the end of the line.
Not at all. And that leads right into the idea of upskilling itself. The newsletter frames it as becoming more effective, more competitive.
So what are the hot skills? They mentioned the top 3 upskilling trends for 2025.
Right. First one, no surprise maybe, artificial intelligence literacy.
AI. Okay, sounds big.
Yeah.
But they say it's not just for developers.
Exactly. It's about understanding how to use AI effectively in almost any role. They cite the World Economic Forum, predicting a 40% growth in demand for AI skills. That's huge.
Wow. So practically, what does that mean for someone listening?
It means thinking about how AI can streamline your work, solve problems differently. It's not about coding necessarily. They mention accessible certifications like Google AI Essentials or Microsoft AI Fundamentals.
Okay, so there are starting points.
Yeah, and lots of free or low-cost courses too. Places like LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, Coursera, EDX. The newsletter points to the CEE Lifelong Learning Resource Guide for more ideas.
Good resources. And it's not just basic literacy, is it?
No, they also mention things like AI prompt engineering, basically, how to talk to AI to get good results, and AI ethics, which is becoming really important.
Using it responsibly. Makes sense. What's the second trend?
Project management frameworks.
Why is that so crucial right now?
Well, they cite the Project Management Institute. Apparently, poor project performance wastes something like 11.4% of investment.
Ouch. So companies really need people who can manage projects well.
You got it. And it's not just for official project managers. Understanding frameworks like Agile or hybrid methodologies helps anyone work better in a team.
Agile. That's about flexibility, right? Breaking things down.
Exactly. Being adaptable, getting Scrum certifications, or knowing hybrid approaches shows that. And familiarity with tools like Asana, Monday.com, Jira, that's key too.
Shows you can hit the ground running. Okay, and the third trend?
Data literacy and analytics. This feels like it's everywhere now.
Totally. It seems essential in almost any field.
It really is. Gartner research apparently found that senior execs see a lack of data literacy as a major roadblock. So it's vital at all levels.
So if someone wants to boost their data skills, what should they focus on?
Data visualization is a big one. Getting comfortable with tools like Tableau or Power BI to make data understandable.
Making charts and graphs that actually tell a story.
Precisely. And basic analytics, just understanding trends, using data for decisions, plus knowing how data applies in your specific industry, that's really valuable.
It all comes back to being strategic during that gap, doesn't it? Upskilling shows you're adaptable, resilient.
Absolutely. Like that Harvard Business Publishing quote they included, lifelong learning is now an economic imperative and the only substantial competitive advantage.
Wow. Strong words. And listeners can find that CEG Lifelong Learning Guide on their website.
Yep, along with past articles on these topics. It's all there.
Great. Okay, let's shift gears. Finding the perfect full-time job can take time. So the newsletter talks about strategies for finding intermediate work.
That's right. It's a smart way to keep income flowing, keep skills sharp, keep your network active while you're searching for that longer-term role. They cover four main types.
Okay, what's the first one? Temping.
Yeah, temporary work through agencies. The big plus is flexibility, short gigs, longer contracts, sometimes even temp to hire opportunities.
A way to get your foot in the door.
Could be. They mention big national agencies like Robert Half, Randstad, Adecco, but also remind you there are specialized ones for different industries.
Good point. Okay, second type, gig work. That's huge now.
Definitely. Freelance, contract stuff, often through platforms like Fiverr, TaskRabbit, Upwork. You get lots of flexibility, autonomy.
But you're your own boss, right? Taxes, benefits.
Exactly. That's the trade-off. You have to manage all that yourself. They actually have a gig work resource guide on the CEG site for details on this.
Okay, useful. What about returnships? That sounds interesting.
Yeah, these are more structured programs. They're designed specifically for people re-entering the workforce after a break, often for caregiving.
So like an internship, but for experienced professionals.
Kind of. They're usually paid, often include networking and upskilling components, and can definitely lead to full-time roles. Again, there's a returnships resource guide mentioned.
That sounds like a fantastic option for people in that situation. And the last one is volunteering.
Right. Now, obviously it's not paid, but the newsletter makes a strong case for its value during a job search.
How so?
Well, you gain recent experience, you expand your network, maybe even explore a new field. And the skills you develop, leadership, project management, technical skills, they're transferable.
And you should definitely put it on your resume.
Absolutely. It shows initiative, commitment, and sometimes it can lead to paid work down the line.
So looking at all four, temping, gig work, returnships, volunteering, what's the common thread? What are the main benefits?
The newsletter sums it up well. Keeping skills sharp, flexibility, avoiding resume gaps, expanding your network, providing purpose, showing you're still relevant, and connecting with people.
It really improves the whole picture, financial, experiential, social, while you're job hunting.
Exactly. It's a really practical strategy.
Okay, let's dive into something a bit more internal now. Money mindset. The newsletter dedicates a whole section to this.
Yeah, and it's fascinating stuff, often overlooked. Money mindset is basically your collection of beliefs and attitudes about money.
And these beliefs influence our career decisions, our financial outcomes, often without us even realizing it.
Precisely. They often operate subconsciously, formed way back in childhood usually.
Where do they come from? The newsletter mentions a few sources.
Three main ones. First, family influences. Those messages you heard growing up, money doesn't grow on trees, or maybe seeing how your parents handled finances, that stuff sticks.
Oh, for sure. I can think of a few from my own childhood. What's the second source?
Cultural and societal factors, things like gender socialization around money, maybe cultural taboos about discussing salary, community attitudes towards wealth, even media portrayals.
We just absorb it from the world around us.
And the third is our own personal experiences. Early financial struggles or comfort, seeing parents go through things, our own past negotiation attempts, successful or not.
It all shapes how we think and feel about money. So how does this play out in something practical, like salary negotiations?
In several ways. One big one is undervaluing your worth. If deep down you don't feel you deserve more, you might accept the first offer, feel guilty asking for more. Focus on your weaknesses.
Yeah, that sounds familiar for a lot of people. Like you're putting a ceiling on yourself.
Totally. Another big one is fear of rejection. Avoiding the negotiation because you're scared of hearing no.
Which feels personal, even though it's business.
Exactly. The newsletter points out that a no on salary isn't a rejection of you, it's just part of the discussion. But that fear often links self-worth to the dollar amount.
Hard to separate those sometimes. What else?
The connection to imposter syndrome. If you feel like a fraud, like you don't really deserve your success, it's incredibly hard to confidently argue for better pay, even if you have the proof.
Wow. So it runs deep. But the good news is the newsletter says we can change this, right? It gives practical steps.
Yes, absolutely. It's not fixed. The first step, maybe the most crucial, is just examining your beliefs. Asking yourself questions like, what messages did I hear about money growing up? What's my biggest fear about negotiating?
Bringing the subconscious stuff into the light.
Exactly. Awareness is key. Step 2 is research your value. Use data.
Right. Know the market rates for your skills, your experience, the location.
Knowledge is power here. Shift it from feelings to facts. Step 3 is practice makes progress.
Role-playing negotiations. Scripting answers.
Yep. Even practicing small asks in other areas of life to build comfort. It desensitizes you a bit.
Makes sense. What's step 4?
This is a big mindset shift. Separate self-worth from monetary value. Your salary doesn't define you as a person.
Easier said than done, maybe, but vital.
Crucial. Step 5 is money journaling. Track expenses, sure, but also track your emotions and thoughts around money decisions, even physical sensations.
Interesting. Paying attention to the whole picture.
It helps uncover unconscious patterns. Step 6 is excavating your subconscious money story. They suggest writing a money autobiography.
Just stream of consciousness about your history with money.
Yeah. Look for recurring themes, triggers, hidden rules you've been following.
Sounds powerful. And step 7.
Create positive money affirmations. Consciously replace those old limiting beliefs. Instead of, I don't deserve more, maybe my skills bring value and I deserve fair compensation.
Actively reprogramming. Do they have other tips too?
A few more quick ones. Study people with healthy money mindsets, find mentors, practice slightly uncomfortable money talks in low-stakes situations.
Build that muscle.
Right. Separate facts from feelings when deciding, maybe make 2 columns, and challenge any gendered money scripts you might have internalized.
That's a really thorough toolkit. The main message tends to be that change is possible.
It is, with awareness, patience, and self-compassion, as the newsletter says. You can make decisions from a place of clarity, not old baggage. And again, they point to past articles and their job offer negotiations resource guide for more.
Really valuable stuff. Okay, let's connect this to another key element, confidence. They call it the currency of career growth.
It really feels that way, doesn't it? Confidence is presented as vital, especially for things like negotiations and leadership. It's that inner belief that helps you move forward.
And it has real-world effects, right? It's not just feeling good.
Definitely not. It empowers you to advocate for yourself, and it shapes how others see you, how they value your contributions. In negotiations, confidence helps you articulate your worth clearly.
Shift the focus to what you bring.
Exactly. And the newsletter links this strongly to self-worth. If you have a solid sense of your value, you're more likely to volunteer for challenges, speak up, seize opportunities.
Whereas self-doubt holds you back. They also mention personal branding here.
Yeah, having a clear personal brand, knowing what you stand for professionally, reinforces that self-worth. It gives you a solid foundation.
So confidence creates this ripple effect, affecting your presence, your leadership potential.
For sure. It shows in your body language, how you communicate, how you make decisions. It commands respect, helps you get promotions, build stronger networks. You become that go-to person.
So how do we build this confidence? It doesn't always come easy.
The newsletter offers practical strategies. First, acknowledge your achievements. Keep a running list, big and small.
Remind yourself what you've done.
Right. Second, refine your personal branding, know your strengths, values, goals, and communicate them. Third, invest in learning. New skills naturally build confidence. Fourth, surround yourself with supportive people, mentors, peers, cheerleaders. And fifth, practice self-advocacy. Speak up, negotiate, represent your contributions.
Those are actionable steps, so confidence isn't fixed, it's something you can cultivate.
Absolutely. And that cultivated confidence, as they say, fuels growth and unlocks opportunities.
Okay, let's move to something very practical. The Ultimate Job Interview Success Blueprint, Part 3. This sounds like advanced tactics.
It is. It's the final part of their series, focusing on nailing those crucial end stages, tough questions, closing strong, follow-up, and salary talks.
Right, those tricky questions we all dread. What's the advice there?
They highlight 2 frameworks, Starlay and SEER. Starlay adds learning and application to the usual STAR method, shows growth.
Situation, task, action, result, plus learning and application. Okay.
And SEER is statement, example, explanation, relation. Good for behavioral questions, linking your experience to the role.
Useful structures. What about tough topics like employment gaps or why you left a job?
Honesty, but framed positively. Focus on productive things you did during a gap or on growth and future alignment when discussing leaving a role.
Makes sense. How about ending the interview and following up? That feels critical.
Super important. Be ready with your questions when they ask. They suggest categories: role-specific, team culture, growth development, and company direction. Shows you're engaged and did your homework.
Good questions make a difference. And the follow-up.
Go beyond just the thank you email. Send personalized notes within 24 hours, reference conversation points, maybe connect on LinkedIn strategically. Document everything.
Documenting is smart.
Yeah, and they even suggest timed check-ins after a week or two, maybe sharing a relevant article, adding value beyond just asking any news.
That's a proactive approach. Now, the big one, salary negotiations.
Preparation and timing are key here. Know your needs, Research the market value before the offer comes and be ready to justify your ask.
Have your numbers ready.
Right. And think holistically. Base salary, benefits, equity, bonuses, development opportunities, work-life balance. It's the whole package.
And approach it collaboratively, not like a fight.
Exactly. Aim for mutual agreement. And again, document everything, maybe using an interview reflection worksheet like the one they mentioned in their guide.
It sounds like acing these final stages really shows professionalism and genuine interest.
Absolutely. It impacts the decision and shows your long-term potential. And their full Ultimate Job Interview Success Blueprint Guide has even more detail.
Great resource. Now, let's talk about something tough. Job loss. The Ask the Expert section covers the dean's job loss reaction cycle.
Yeah, this is helpful for normalizing the emotional roller coaster that often happens. Richard Deems developed this cycle, drawing actually from his background in end-of-life care, seeing parallels in major transitions.
Interesting connection. What are the stages?
They stress it's not linear, you can bounce around. But the stages include shock disbelief, then anger resentment, though they warn against burning bridges.
Right. Don't trash the company publicly.
Then denial bargaining, realizing most terminations are final. Followed by self-doubt put-downs, where you might blame yourself unfairly.
That sounds like a tough spot.
It is. Then possibly withdrawal depression. They really caution against isolation here. And finally, acceptance affirmation, where you start looking forward, evaluating strengths, figuring out what you want next.
Good to know these feelings are part of a recognized pattern. What about other effects?
Fear is common about the search, bills, respect. Frustration, too, with the uncertainty, lack of routine, and physical effects from stress, illness, fatigue.
So self-care is crucial.
Definitely. Exercise, healthy eating. They also recommend using outplacement if offered, getting a coach or joining a support group. And seeking professional help if things like sleep, appetite, or concentration are off long-term.
Understanding this cycle helps you be kinder to yourself, right? Maybe more strategic in the job search.
Exactly. It provides a sort of emotional map for a difficult journey.
Okay, finally, let's touch on the holiday highlights. National Stress Awareness Month and National Volunteer Month, both in April.
Right. For Stress Awareness Month, the goal is awareness and promoting management strategies. They share some pretty stark stats on workplace stress from OSHA and the APA.
It's a huge issue. What can employers and employees do?
Employers can encourage work-life balance, flex work, mental health days, provide resources like EAPs, foster a positive culture, encourage breaks, manage workloads. Employees need to prioritize personal stress management exercise, mindfulness, sleep, self-care.
Both sides have a role. And National Volunteer Month.
That's about encouraging volunteerism and honoring volunteers. The newsletter highlights the benefits for the volunteer too: increased happiness, reduced stress, better health, citing the Mayo Clinic.
Giving back feels good, basically.
And does good. They list tons of examples: food banks, animal shelters, environmental work, mentoring, disaster relief, health advocacy, housing like Habitat for Humanity, Special Olympics, Meals on Wheels.
Lots of ways to get involved. Find a cause you care about.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, this has been a really thorough deep dive into the Career Experts Group's April newsletter. We've covered so much.
We really have. From navigating gaps with upskilling to intermediate work strategies, understanding money mindset, building confidence, nailing interviews, coping with job loss, and even stress and volunteering.
And just to reiterate, the newsletter itself and the website www.careerexpertsgroup.com are packed with more info and resources for anyone navigating their career.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up, maybe something to think about is this. Proactive career management isn't just about the next job anymore, is it? It's really tied into overall well-being in this changing world.
That's a great point.
So what resonated most with you from our chat today? And maybe more importantly, what's one small action you could take based on these insights to move forward on your own path? Something to mull over.